Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to Let's Talk Oculus episode 59. I'm Dan, and with me, as always, the ArcAxer himself. It's Samson. How you doing?
Hello. Burning some calories for sure.
You burning some calories in the game, or?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, oh, for sure. We'll talk about
Lots
that.
of dodging.
Lots of
ducking, diving. It's like dodgeball out there.
Oh yeah.
Today we have a special show with you for you. We're gonna be joined by Anthony and Aaron from Overrun Games, better known as the creators of the turn-based RPG ArcAxer. First of all, thanks for joining us. And how are you both doing?
Thanks. I'm doing great.
Yeah, having a great Sunday. Super excited to talk to you guys and just kind of talk about what's going on.
Fantastic. Just for the audio listeners, the last person to speak there was Aaron and the first person was Anthony, so you can kind of distinguish between the two. Before we kind of go through the show, obviously we'll be talking to both of them about ArcAxer, and I'm sure we'll talk about Overrun Games in general and what's there to come. But before we get into the show, a little housekeeping as usual. Let's Talk Oculus releases every single Wednesday on all good podcast platforms, and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to join us on the video version on the YouTube, so you can put a picture to Aaron and Anthony's face, you can join us on the YouTube at Let's Talk Oculus. We also have a Discord where we often play a bunch of multiplayer games, watch movies and big screen. We've been playing a lot of Walkabout in there together recently. Yep. And
answering a lot of questions too. Come on down with your questions.
There's been a lot of questions, and we've had questions for this episode. We'll get through them later on. And also, if you really love us, join us on the Patreon at patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. If you want to throw us $1, all the links will be below, including everything about Overrun Games and ArcAxer. So before we kind of begin with kind of knowing your background and such, obviously ArcAxer is the one that you're currently known for at the moment. Can you tell me a little bit about the game so people at home who not played this before can know about it?
Yeah, sure thing. So ArcAxer, like you said, is a turn-based RPG. But one of our main gimmicks is that we have a third-person overworld, where when you're exploring the world and dungeon crawling, you're kind of in this third-person view where you're looking down at the character. And you're just controlling him with the thumbstick. And then when you get into a battle, it switches into first person. And then you switch into this kind of first-person combat system where you have to aim your attacks with the controllers and then actively dodge enemy attacks on the enemy turn.
Yeah, I think that's a super cool feature of the game, to be honest. It's like your unique ability where you're playing like a tabletop RPG in a way, with the third person, Demio style in a way. At least it feels like that, because you're just looking over. And then as soon as the battle comes in, you become, whoever your character is, whoever you decide to choose, and you actually perform these magic spells, or you just try and axe them in the head or something like that.
Like Samson said, it's a heck of a workout.
Yeah.
It reminds me. It reminds me a lot of like Blast On, where you're standing there and you're sort of slow dodging these bullets and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive more into ArcAxer, but let's kind of bring it back a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the kind of beginning. First of all, obviously you both Overrun Games. Is there anyone else, or is it just yourselves? And if so, what are your kind of roles in the team?
It's mostly just us. I do all the programming and Aaron does all the art.
Nice. I can see that, because on the YouTube with Aaron with your nice cutout of ArcAxer on the back here. It's some beautiful art in there. Were you both in like art design and development before you started Overrun Games? Is that kind of the background that you were in?
Well, we went to college together at Chico State for computer animation and game development.
Oh, nice.
That's how we met. That's how we became friends. That's how we started working on projects together.
Got it. I see. And were you in just normal flat game before, or before you went to VR, or not really? You just jumped into VR when you came into game development?
Well, this is a good one for Anthony. He's been in it the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much like while I was still studying in school, I went to, I think it was like GDC 2014, 2015, and they had the Oculus DK2 there.
The pink eye year.
Yeah, the year everyone got pink eye. That was fun. Yeah, it was the first time they were showing off that headset, and they went for sale the same day. I did the demo there. I think the demo was Eve Valkyrie. I thought it was so cool that I was like, I just want to make games for this. Like, that's all I want to do. So I ordered a dev kit that day, and I've basically just been doing VR stuff ever since.
Wow, yeah, I thought he was crazy. He blew like his whole fund budget for that semester on DK2. It worked out though.
Yeah, but did you, Anthony, did you do any development for anything else, like any game development before that, or was it just as soon as you put that headset on, you're like, okay, this is exactly what I kind of want to be doing?
Nothing. I mean, up until that point, I hadn't done any big projects or anything. Like we had lots of school projects that were all just 2D stuff, and VR was so new that of course we weren't doing VR in school yet.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, and then
we were doing mobile games, which is, you know, a lot of the same ideas.
Yeah, right, definitely. I see. Awesome. So, and then obviously you kind of began Overrun games, and when it comes to your first game with Wave Magic, I can see that there's a lot of inspiration taken from ArcAxer from that game. Right, you got like a similar kind of like first person, third person kind of thing you're going for. How was your first game? Like, I'm assuming there was a lot of challenges and a lot of scratching the heads. Like, how was that first time of developing for VR?
It was, like Aaron said, it was definitely a learning experience. We definitely hopped on that project hot right out of school. None of us had very much experience in game development yet, so I'd say the project was like very messy, and very much not built to scale as good as we might build a project today. So while I call Wave Magic kind of the spiritual ancestor to ArcAxer, since like you said, that's when we kind of started playing around with this third person overworld and first person combat idea. But like I said, since we were inexperienced, we didn't really have the bandwidth to finish that project at that time.
Have you ever thought to go back to it? Make it an Easter egg?
We did pull some of my favorite, well, there weren't that many characters. We pulled a lot of the characters from that game. I gave them a fresh coat of paint, fixed their meshes.
Okay. So it's still a passion project in the background.
Right. Yeah, the desert environment in ArcAxer is very much inspired by Wave Magic.
Was on accident. I just started making a desert. And I made all the things that I would want in a desert, and realized, oh, I did this 5 years ago. I did the same thing. I'm very predictable, apparently. I even made H.P. Lovecraft's head in both versions. So there it is.
That's funny.
Oh, you're consistent on what you're doing. Obviously, it was an RPG you started with, an RPG in ArcAxer. So you always thought of RPG was the way you wanted to go with VR. You like got a passion for RPGs outside of development?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge RPG fan, especially JRPGs. I love like the Persona, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, all the classics.
Yeah.
And I felt like at the time, especially early in VR's life cycle, there weren't a lot of like lengthier games where you could really just go in and grind up a character and just, you know, kill monsters, raise stats, and just kind of build a character over a long period of time. It was more short form content. So I wanted to make something that people could really sink some time into.
Yeah, so you've kind of made a game that you really would want to play, right? It's the one that you'd love to play, which I guess would help, especially when it's, you know, when it's one of your only second game in like development. Obviously, you'll have so many issues and challenges, but because this is the game you want to play, it's like a proper passion project, right?
Yeah. Especially at the beginning, it was all nights and weekends and overtime and whenever we had a spare moment. So doing stuff that we thought was cool really kept it going.
For sure. And Aaron, obviously you do the art. What kind of inspired you to do the art style that's currently in the game?
I mean, a lot of my favorite games were JRPGs. So I just kind of look back at classic stuff like Super Mario RPG, Earthbound. And then as you can see with the main character, our friend Madison Johnson, she designed that. But like we kind of told her what a dubstep was an anime. And so we've been riffing with a lot of 90s anime tropes too. I love the classic stuff from when I was a kid. So it's just kind of all that in a blender. And you can see behind me a plush for Eastward. So just a lot of retro RPG influences.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It makes sense because of the RPG game with the ArcAxer especially is just so well in depth in terms of what you can do with it. I was really surprised because as an App Lab game currently, right? As an App Lab game, it was just the level of detail in that is compared to a lot of games. That's why I was surprised to see it only for App Lab. Obviously it's on Steam, but only for App Lab, because obviously you've got weird saturation in App Lab where you have a lot of different titles, a lot of different games, but they're not on the same level field. You got some like say ArcAxer and Dead Second, which is another game on there, created by Sean Edwards, friends of the show. Just like top tier kind of games that should be on the store. What is the process of getting it onto the Oculus Store, and how has that been?
Well, that is a whole. As you might know, getting onto the Oculus Store for a long time, and I'd say it still is kind of a mystery for smaller developers. But our plan had always been to eventually launch on the Oculus Store. So I'm really glad that we eventually were able to make that happen. But like I said, originally there wasn't a whole lot of info. Before App Lab, you made a pitch deck and you sent it to Oculus, and like a week later, they would say yes or no, and it was usually no. They were very picky.
There was no explanations or rundowns or here's what
not even here's no fixes or anything like that.
Absolutely nothing. And the deck had to be, it was very short, basically 3 slides. You weren't really supposed to go into depth at all, just a very broad, like, here's my broad idea.
Gameplay. It was
right.
Here's my team, here's how much money we have to make this. And they said yes or no. And like you said, it was usually no. So yeah, we submitted that when we originally started working on the project. We eventually went on side quest. About a year later, I thought I'd try again, submit another pitch deck, really polish that one up. We had a really nice demo, but of course they don't want to see the demo at that point. No. They're still only interested in the concept. So that again was a no. We said, okay, well, we'll just keep working on this on the side, I guess. And of course, App Lab came out. We launched on App Lab, and then Oculus was like, okay, this is the new, we're not doing pitch decks anymore. The new process is you go on App Lab and maybe one day we'll notice you.
We were in the first batch of not meta picks for App Lab. There was like 13 that they handpicked, and then we were in the first batch of like applicants, which was really cool.
Okay, so that's definitely
nice. Good. So you've been there a while.
From the beginning,
yeah, nice.
And then eventually someone from Meta talked to us and was like, hey, we really like this game, and I want to help you try to get this onto the store. And yeah, ever since then, we had to, I don't know how much I'm allowed to go into that process, but I'll just say
Senpai had to notice us.
Eventually they noticed us, and we got to move to the store.
I'm imagining somebody at Meta with just like a backlog of games that they're just finally getting around to playing your game, and they're like, oh yeah, like this should be on the store.
Kind of is the vibe that
it feels like that, right? It was very confusing to me when I spoke to other developers who are on App Lab, where I asked them, I was like, what's the process? Because I thought it was like the iOS store on iPhone and such, where you'll submit, they'll come back with some changes, maybe this, that needs to be changed to suit their store or such, and then eventually you'll get it on. But it literally is, there's not even an application process, right? It's like they choose you.
Right.
More than anything, right? But obviously you finally got the call that it's going to go on. And obviously from, I think on the day of the release of this podcast on October 12th, is that the date that it's now live?
Yes, October 13th.
It'll be the 13th.
Everything in Meta happens on Thursday,
Yeah, that's true. Excellent. So from tomorrow, as people listen to on Wednesday, it'll be live on the store, which is excellent. Have you got any specific like marketing or anything that you're going to do for it for the big launch?
Oh yeah, we've got a whole marketing campaign we're going to be starting here pretty soon. I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of it already out by the time this podcast airs.
Nice.
So we won't talk about it too much right now, but it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
This podcast is part of it.
It is.
Yes. Yes.
For sure, for sure. No, I think the community you have in ArcAxer, I've seen like you've got lots of reviews on App Lab. There's a strong community. Obviously, it's been going on for almost 2 years now, I think.
Yeah.
ArcAxer now.
More actually. We
More.
started our Discord. We first put up our demo
Hmm.
February of 2020 at the end
Right.
of the world. And that's kind of around when we started doing our Discord too. We had a Reddit for a while, and then someone said, why don't you do a Discord?
Mhm.
And the Discord's been crazy good. It's been so nice to be able to directly talk to people, and the feedback
Absolutely.
and the support and the hey, fix that has been really,
Mhm.
really handy.
For sure. No, like congratulations. It's a big thing going from the App Lab to the store. You know, I still see like dead second, I'll mention again with Sean Edwards, that app deserves to be on the store because it's so
Yeah.
polished and so well done, but it's just not been noticed yet. You know, it's just one of those things. And no, it's a big feat. And I know it's a bit weird how, you know, it's just, oh, one day you wake up and oh, we finally got an invitation to try and get this on the store. You know?
Yeah.
But it
When
must have been
when I
a
heard
relief.
about that, I had a panic attack. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a unique game. Like there's nothing really like it.
Anthony's got
You
a
know?
lot of really good ideas for VR stuff. It's
thank
it
you.
is a very special game.
Yeah, there's nothing. No, they're right. There's nothing really like this. I think if you're super into RPGs and just the 2D landscape, you know, like some of the ones that you mentioned, you know, those are the classics. Earthbound, for example.
Yeah.
You know, every massive RPG lover has played Earthbound, right? And some of the others. And I feel like anyone who is in the 2D space who likes RPGs, and I'm pretty sure some of the Discord members in our community are into RPGs as well. This will fit right in because obviously you have Demio, which is more of a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons-esque kind of RPG.
Yeah.
This is more like a proper 2D game, kind of, you know, something that you'll see on the PlayStation, but now you can actually be involved in the battles, right?
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
get to level up your character. And like you were saying, there's a ton of different hacks, is what we call our spells, and weapons. And my favorite is all of Anthony's character modifiers. What's it called? Passives, yeah. You can really do some really fun stuff with your passives and really just make that classic RPG character that you want to be. Anthony always talks about his idea was he wanted to feel like the hero that he felt like when he played Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's really
That's what VR is for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also what everyone who are super into RPGs are like, right? You really get invested in that character and to actually be in that mode. I was so surprised because I had no idea when it was a first person turnaround. So when I saw that change from third person to first person, I was like, oh wow, this is actually a really cool mechanic. Did you ever see something like that before? Was it inspired by anything, or was it just something that you've always thought about? Oh, this would be pretty cool. I wanna make this in VR.
Well, originally, I did this for two reasons. One was because I wanted a cool kind of way to do locomotion that would help prevent people from getting sick. So I thought maybe this third person perspective would be a cool way to kind of give you this ability to move around a big world without having problems with motion sickness. And then the second reason was just I really liked games like Lucky's Tale and Moss with these kind of where it almost feels, it feels like a diorama. And I think for some reason in VR that when things are really small scale, the 3D effect works really well, and just the depth you get from the scene is really cool. So I liked that a whole lot, but I also wanted to take advantage of the movement that VR lets you do when you're in first person. So I thought I'd just take those two ideas, put them together, and that's kind of what we came up with.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the biggest space you've played in? Because I feel like if you're playing in a big enough space, you're really good.
Yeah,
dodging.
You can
those
definitely
attacks.
do some cheating if you
Yeah.
have a large enough room.
I've definitely played in some really big spaces, and like for example, there's flying enemies in the game that you can't hit with your melee weapon because it won't let you teleport to them. But if your space is big enough, you could actually just walk up to the enemy and jump up and hit it with your sword.
That's fantastic.
So there are kind of ways to cheese it, and a lot of the attacks get a lot easier to dodge if you can move around more.
Just walk away, yeah.
We tried to accommodate smaller spaces as much as we could, but the game is for sure easier if you have more space to move around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept bumping into my couch. I was like, "Oh God, I'm going too far. I'm going too far."
How long has the game actually been in development?
I think
2019.
yeah, I think we
2019?
started 2019, so it's been about 3 years now.
3
We
years.
published the first full build, like everything was feature complete in 2021.
I
I
see.
think March or something, and then we added our post-game content expansion in March of this year.
Nice.
So that was another 5 hours of gameplay.
And I see that I looked at the Steam updates and preparation of this, and it's like you're updating it constantly. And I saw, actually, I haven't tried this out, but I saw that you've added mixed reality support in there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so mixed reality support is actually one of the big features that's going to be launching with our Quest Store launch. So that will allow you to, when you're traversing the dungeons, the background will be passed through.
Right.
So you'll kind of just see the dungeon floating into like your play space. And then when you go into combat, it'll replace the background for the arenas with the pass-through once again. So it'll look like you're just fighting monsters in your bedroom or your living room.
So much fun.
That's so cool.
Very cool.
How has that been working with the Quest 2? Has it been, I'm sure it's been a challenge, but like how has it been working with that pass-through?
Pass-through in general, I'd say it's not that hard to deal with. As far as all the things you have to deal with in VR development, it definitely has not been one of the more challenging ones, as much as something like performance.
Right.
It's true. You have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Yeah, to get it performing well. I guess you also bottlenecked a little bit with obviously being on mobile hardware. Obviously, I assume the PC one you can flex your muscles a little bit more, but the fact is you want to cater to the Quest 2. Have you? I don't know if you can say this, so feel free not to answer. But have you been able to try it on maybe the Cambria or the Quest Pro or the type of mixed reality headsets which have got like more of a?
I don't think we can answer that, but it would be pretty cool.
Are there any differences between the Steam or Oculus Rift version and the Quest?
The Steam version does look quite a bit better. You get things like post-processing, just little details like more grass in the overworld, higher resolution textures.
The particle effects go absolutely nuts.
Reflections and stuff get turned on. So our game's very stylized, so it looks similar, but definitely much shinier on the PC version.
Okay, for sure. But you still have the same like mechanics. The core mechanics are still the same across versions.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I see. And then obviously you said you got mixed reality coming out for the Quest on release. Is there anything else that's quite significant that's probably coming on release?
Yeah, we're actually calling this our biggest update ever. So in addition to mixed reality, we have things like a new secret boss that you can fight if you progress through the entire rest of the game. We've went through and done a huge polish on all the UI. We've added new things like enemy animations. We've added new hacks abilities, new passives, but just new overworld puzzles.
There's a lot of content.
Really, we really just gone through the whole game and kind of just really made sure everything was in there that we would want for a full release.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So like you've added like an extra layer of polish in a way and kind of completed the game even more.
Yes.
Perfect. I have a few questions from a patron called Eric. Just give you a backstory on Eric. He's also developing his own app in Quest. So hence these questions are a little bit more into how to building the app itself. Okay. I have a few questions from him because he was actually really excited when I told you guys were coming on the show. The first one's like a really easy one. What development platform are you using? Are you through Unity, Unreal? What are you building?
Unity.
Using Unity. Awesome. And has that been quite intuitive with VR? Like, does it play quite nice?
Yeah, Unity is great. It's the engine I've used the most, so I'm very comfortable with it. And yeah, I'd say all their support for VR is amazing.
Perfect. And then his other one is probably more for Aaron. He says, what was the path of learning taken to achieve such a nice looking game, like in terms of aesthetics? What was the thought behind that and such?
Well, a lot of it was just games that I like. already. But from the technical side of things, I've spent the last 5 years contracting on a lot of stuff. Spent about a year on Rec Room, very simple, very stylized VR game. And then the project that I enjoyed the most was called Enemy on Board. That one did wind up blowing up on the launch pad, but it was with a bunch of ex-Riot devs, and I really got to dig into the League of Legends character pipeline.
Nice.
So I got to really, really hone my skills on working with very low hardware specs in mind. So yeah, it's all hand painted. It's all very simple geometry. It's all very sparse, very, very cheap in terms of overhead. And that way Anthony has room for particle effects and grass and stuff once the characters are in.
Love my particles.
I like hand painted textures. They make me happy. So
yeah, there's something about it, right? It's like that was just the way things were back in, say, the 90s and such, and now it's just a really beautiful aesthetic. Where a lot of games, I think it was a game called Celeste on the Nintendo Switch recently, and that had some beautiful graphics where like this would be just standard back in the early 90s or something like that. But it's just something about that kind of pixel art in a way, which also makes it really nice.
I understand that reality rendering is really cool and technically impressive, but I have enough of reality already. It's boring. It's passé. Let's move on to something dumber.
Yeah. I think it works especially for an RPG. Once again, you're in a fantasy role. You're going into a certain different type of character. You don't really need to be, I want to have real life physics or real life looking objects and such. That's the fun part of it, right?
You're on another planet. Yeah.
You're inside a simulation. Why would I want to see human skin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The creepiest thing I could have picked right there.
Good job.
Who did the limited voice acting?
Oh, good question. A lot of it was just our friends.
All of it was just our friends.
Yeah, all of it was our friends. Some of which are actually voice actors. But
the more like lines of dialogue they have, the more actually they are in the voice acting industry.
Right. Yeah. But there are definitely some voices in the game that are just, hey, can you hook up your Blue Yeti in your closet and give us a few lines?
Cody did his best. That's good.
Shout out to Cody.
It's good.
Actually, speaking on this is voice, but Eric also asked, where did you get your music? Like, what was the music inspiration and how was that made?
So most of the music was actually made by me.
Nice.
I just I really wanted, I feel like music in like JRPGs is really important for conveying the emotion you want in combat in the overworld. And at the time this project had a budget of 0. So I didn't really, the music is expensive and I didn't really want to pay for it. So I just bought Ableton and taught myself how to make music. So the interesting thing is the beginning of the game was when I was first learning. So the tracks in the very beginning are like very much more basic and not as good as the tracks later in the game. So as you progress through the game, the music kind of gets a little better.
The music, it definitely gets more advanced, but that fight theme is still, it's a banger.
But I didn't make all the music. A few tracks were made by my buddy Troy Spoon, who goes by Spooning online. We also had someone in our Discord who goes by That Guy make a bunch of metal covers.
Nice.
So there's actually an item in the game called That Guy's Axe, which is like a guitar, and if you equip it, it changes all the battle themes to his metal cover version.
That's cool.
That's awesome. It's a weapon, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you get to beat people with a guitar too, which is great. And then my friend Chris Barrett actually made a couple of the tracks too, because I wanted to make him do something fun.
It's nice. It sounds like obviously you had some like proper voice actors and some you seeked out a few assets and such from like more professional kind of people, but it sounds like it's been like a nice collaborative effort between obviously you two and then maybe some friends or some favors from other people in different industries and such. It's kind of nice because it's not like a massive team making this game or such. It's like a very community like driven game in a way,
Yeah, it's been really fun.
I always wanted this game to be just all my friends coming together to make something cool, and I'm really glad that it actually worked out that way.
Hopefully for the next one we can pay them.
Yes. I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
Well, the fact that you're now going to be on the Oculus store makes a big difference. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
we have a budget now.
Yeah, you have a budget, and it's actually been seen by people who actually type in your game rather than think. You know, when I obviously had you booked in to come onto the show, I typed in ArcAxer onto Oculus, and I think I maybe put a space in there, or maybe did something like that, and it just never showed up. And it has to be like exact characters, exactly how it's done, in order for it to go, yeah, it's under this folder. Click on this show all, then it will show you, and then it'll give you a warning and such.
And then once you download it, yeah, every time you go to play it, it's like, hey, this isn't a real game, just so you know.
So it puts off, especially, obviously it's nice that you have a demo in there, but when you have a price tag in there, I believe the price tag's $25, right? I don't know if I'm looking at the Canadian version of that. Well, yeah,
USD,
it's 20.
yeah, 25.
Yeah, 25 USD. And obviously that might put people off on the app lab because there is so much, I wouldn't say crap, but there's so many like very early development ideas on there.
There's a lot of assumptions that go into the app lab.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
We were in Indianapolis. Anthony, want to tell the story about the kid?
Yeah, with this, yeah, we're at Indianapolis. What was the name of the event again, Aaron?
Indie PopCon.
Indie PopCon. They had they were bringing back the Reboot VR Game Awards, which was really cool. So we were just demoing our game to random people at the con, and we had this kid come up. He was maybe, I don't know, like 11, 12.
Yeah, really young.
And he starts playing the game, and he just goes, is this on the Oculus store? I'm like, yeah, it's on App Lab. He's like, oh, so the game's not finished yet?
No, yeah. I could see Anthony restraining himself from hitting this kid.
You know how much hours I had to learn music as well.
Yeah, right.
That's quite funny. But yeah, it gets rid of that. It does get rid of that barrier in terms of, this is potentially not a finished game.
My favorite part though is now people can type in RPG and we'll show up. They don't even have to type in our name. That's
a genre.
Yeah, and then there'll be so few as well. It'd be like Demio and ArcAxer, and then the odd couple more in there, and such, and that's it. And which is actually proper RPG, like. Yeah,
RPG is definitely a broad term.
Yeah, a very broad term. I had two more questions from Eric that I wanted to ask. He says, narrative storytelling seems to be very important to the game. He says, what kind of creative preparation for writing a story took place before you started coding and designing the actual game?
Well, that's a good question. So basically, I always had kind of the broad idea of, the major points of the story. And I didn't actually have a script or anything for any of the cutscenes or the dialogue. So mostly what I did was I had like my outline of how the story was supposed to go. I'd go through and write all the game objects, I guess, for each story event, and I'd just write the dialogue as I went. So there wasn't much of a formal process to it. I just kind of do that. I'd play the cutscene in the headset over and over again until the dialogue sounded as unawkward as possible. That was like I said, the story for this game was a lot of it was kind of just come up with on the spot.
That does sound very indie, of you. Yeah. It's like you have a core concept, but it's just more of experimenting and seeing what works and then what adds to the story and what doesn't and such as it goes. And then obviously, did you have collaborative efforts? Like Aaron, did you pitch into the story and such?
A little bit here and there, but not really. Mostly I added character designs, and then I kind of would give the characters over and talk to Anthony about what I envisioned them doing, and that would kind of make its way in. And then a couple times Anthony would just run up against a wall and we'd talk for an hour or two, and then he'd have a better
writer's
idea.
block.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm the wall.
A lot of our ideas for especially like dungeon designs and monsters would just be me coming to Aaron and be like, oh, well, first thing that comes to your mind, pirates. All right, entire dungeon is pirate theme now.
Well, you said you on that one actually, you came to me and said, okay, next level, jungle or pirates? And I said, well, pirates.
Yeah.
And then for the boss fight for that one, I don't remember who said mecha boat, but it was a shit post idea. It was not supposed to make Final Cut, and then it was too funny. And then by the time that I finished laughing, I had an idea for a mecha boat. So there you go.
Oh man, that's amazing. From obviously Wave Magic, your first game, what made you decide like the transition to ArcAxer without like just continuing to develop Wave Magic into something else? Like, why did you decide to pivot to a different game entirely?
So for one thing, the wave magic really, this game was very, like I said, the story was very impromptu, but wave magic was even more so, to the point where there wasn't really a strong enough idea behind the story and where it was going to go. And since I couldn't really decide where I wanted that game to go, I just decided I'm going to start over. I'm going to have the entire the outline of the story thought out from the beginning. I want to make the combat more interesting, because the combat in wave magic was very much
shooter.
It felt like a wave shooter, and there were too many wave shooters at the time. So
Still are.
yeah, definitely. So
I
wanted
I
this
think
to
one of
be-
the big things too was every week you would say, "Oh, I did this in a way that I have to redo this every single time I do this."
I guess it's that early development, you don't know the best way to kind of optimize it, where later on you can change it and such like that, where ArcAxer, at least you could start a little bit fresh and like rewrite the code and rewrite how the scripting is, just to make it just more optimized,
Right.
going forward, right? So that makes a lot of sense. The last question from Eric, because he's written so many questions, and I want to ask him all. He just said, where is this game heading? Like, what is your plans? Obviously, now you're on the Oculus Store. Do you still expect to keep giving it the update treatment over the next year and maybe putting in another expansion? Is that kind of where you're leaning towards, or maybe this is complete pretty much?
I think as far as major updates go, we're most likely done with this game. However, we have begun pre-production on the second game.
Nice.
So that's kind of where most of our efforts will be going in the future. But of course, we'll still be doing, bug fixes and optimizations for the original as we go along as well.
Perfect. And
Do you plan to come to PSVR 2?
We're trying to talk to Sony and see if we can get a dev kit. So if we can get one, I'd definitely be interested in porting it.
Yeah, I
Nice.
think.
And what about what about Pico?
Pico we're already on,
Pico.
actually.
Okay, nice.
We're
Nice.
on Pico, we're on the Chiyu. We're talking to Pimax. Anthony knows every Asian headset.
Yeah, I have all of them behind me. So many headsets.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, I don't know what those headsets are.
They are all real, every single one of them.
Yep.
No.
Very,
His wife is very kind and set up a lovely shelf.
I see that with a nice little Kirby underneath.
Top it off with a little Kirby at the bottom, of course.
I know. I think if you do manage to get to PlayStation, it will be phenomenal, because I think PlayStation in general, just in terms of their 2D audience, big fans of JRPGs, big fans of RPGs in general. So there's already there's a big community. I know Sony loves to push that. I remember when the PS Vita was a thing, rest in peace. So many JRPGs on that, and it used to be like the JRPG machine kind of thing. And, I think a game like ArcAxer would fit on the PlayStation VR again, so
Definitely.
fingers
Really
crossed,
cool, yeah. Especially
I'd-
because I know the PlayStation 1 VR was pretty limited, but the PS2 is looking to be pretty awesome.
yeah, it looks like it could be essentially your PC in terms of what you can do, and imagine what you could do with that haptic support and the controllers for some of like the spells that you cast or some of the melee combat or such, right?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with these controller haptics. A lot of these new headsets are adding to their controllers. Yeah, I think a lot of games are going to do some really cool stuff with it.
You mentioned, I know this is a more of an Oculus Meta Quest show, but you mentioned that you're on the Pico. Is the mixed reality stuff coming to the Pico version as well, or is it something that you're just? I think the reason I ask is because the Pico 4 has color pass through, so I was wondering if that's something that you're thinking about.
Yeah, there will be a pass-through mode on the Pico version as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, that's fantastic. Samson, I know you've been playing ArcAxer quite a bit. How have you found the game? Just as a fan.
Sorry, you cut out there. You were asking me, yeah?
Yeah, I was asking you.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, like I said, it's a good workout. I'm not somebody who likes to just sink a lot of time into RPGs, not just my style of game, but I've definitely enjoyed it. Appreciate the art style, music. The enemies are pretty great. The first time I hit the gnome, I just started laughing hysterically.
I love
Don't
the
make me
gnome.
laugh
What
every
is
time.
this? Yeah, it's like, what is
I
this
like
guy?
to use guns and try and bounce them around.
Yeah, he just flew around. Like I hit him with like my fire, and yeah, really enjoying it. And I love platformers, so the third person is just my speed. I want more third person in VR. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because I was watching a I think Obscure Nerd VR did a video of ArcAxer like a year ago or so. And I was watching his video and he was sat down throughout the whole thing and I was like, hold on, I remember when I pressed download it said, are you sure you have a 2x2 meter space?
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing sitting down trying to hack into? So
That's
I guess
his shtick.
advise this is not like a seated game at all.
Not broadly. We do have a couple of chair-bound players who have been able to make their way through it. Definitely want to set it on easy settings and then hit the treadmill to get your health up.
For sure.
There are just some attacks that are going to hit you because Anthony, made the game room scale from the beginning because room scale is too much fun and there wasn't anything room scale at the time. So it does have some difficulties. Would
it be quite difficult to incorporate like a seeded version of the playthrough now because it's already been designed as a room scale game?
It's just I'd love to do a seeded version. There's just a lot of attacks that would have to be redesigned.
Right.
So I'd say at this point in time, it'd be more of a feature we'd look at it, maybe adding to the sequel.
Kind of like two-player mode would be really cool, but it's fundamental. So ArcAxer too.
But as Aaron said, if you do want to play the whole game seeded, I would say it's possible. You just have to play on easy and maybe pick a class like the warrior who has defensive ability that lets you become invincible for a second, so that can help with some of the attacks that are just going to be impossible to avoid.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then obviously you just mentioned ArcAxer 2. You had pretty much just begun pre-production. So
yeah. We kind of started on designing some characters, some environments and stuff when we got the call from Meta. So it's been on the back burner for 6 months, and we've been getting everything cleaned up and ready to go.
And I've heard from other devs that even if you have your first game on the store, you still have to go through the kind of same process for the sequel. Is that correct?
Not sure yet.
Not sure. Yeah.
Too early.
Now we have a Meta rep, and we've got a very great relationship with him. So fingers crossed we can at least know what to do.
A little easier. Have you ever thought about going into maybe a different genre ever? Or like maybe just on the back of your mind as like maybe a hobby project to try and something else? Or RPGs is going to be definitely what Overrun Games is all about?
I mean, I'd definitely be down to do other genres. So we've had a couple other ideas for cool stuff we wanted to do.
I've got a Mario Party idea that I'm not going to stop thinking about and talking about it.
One day we'll get to do our.
We'll have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
Maybe people will like ArcAxer enough that we can have it be ArcAxer themed. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
ArcAxer Crash Bash exists. Yeah. It's basically.
Oh man, excellent game, by the way. Excellent game. I've not heard about that game. Like just coming off of ArcAxer a little bit and off of development, just into like both of you. In terms of VR, do you get to play much? As obviously you're developing constantly, I'm sure, but like, do you get to play much in VR? Do you get to check other experiences out?
I don't get to play everything I want to play. I try to at least play the hits. Like I'm almost done going through Bone Lab right now, which has been great. But nice. Yeah, like I said, not as much time as I'd like, but I try to at least stay updated on what the latest and greatest is.
Nice.
Yeah, what are your same boat? Oh, go ahead.
No, what are your favorite classes to play in ArcAxer?
Thief every time.
For me, it's kind of a tie between the mage and the thief. I originally was the thief because I designed that entire class around chaos, and I just really like for example, we have a ability in the game called RNGiza that can randomly cast any other ability in the game. And I've always liked abilities like metronome in Pokemon and things that really embrace randomness in combat.
I like it.
I just like it because you can baseball bat back attacks on the enemy turn.
Yes, that is really cool.
That's so much fun.
Feel like Link in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I see you guys have a strong Nintendo background there. A lot of Nintendo references.
Mhm.
Like kind
Oh,
of, I guess all of these is interesting, right? To see where I see a lot of indie developers, and it's fun to see that all of these stuff that like I've been brought up with too, because we're all probably in the same kind of generation, are all the inspiration for nowadays games. It's actually pretty nice to see. And then hopefully, yeah, we get something like maybe not an Ocarina of Time, but something similar or Mario Party kind of thing in VR, because we'll be the ones or you'll be the ones who like creating them, which is it's just pretty fun, you know. Definitely. Aaron, any differences? I know you're just in pre-production, but you're probably gonna stick with like very similar art styles and
Mhm.
such going into ArcAxer 2 as like a
Uh,
proper. Yeah.
yeah. So with ArcAxer 2, we're doing kind of a similar thing where each environment is its own
Yeah.
vibe. We're going to go a little bit stronger in that direction. Each
Mhm.
section is going to be a little bit more unique. I'm going to try and dig a little heavier into stylized shapes and silhouettes for the people, the humanoid characters.
Mhm.
With ArcAxer, it was nights and weekends after I worked at the comic shop and I was contracting for other video game companies.
Yeah.
So I was very tired and I didn't always have time to do proper concept art, do proper look dev. So it's very stylized, but it's not extreme. It's not very pointy in design.
Right.
It's very very straightforward.
Right.
So yeah, I want to get a little weirder, a little more
And
uniquely the way I want it to be.
you're both gonna be like more full time now with ArcAxer 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
fantastic. That's pretty
Nice.
amazing in itself,
It's a
right?
dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really lucky with that. Anthony's been working for our publisher, Well Played, for a
Mhm.
while now, and now we're both on board, and they're very supportive, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic because then you can put 100% of your effort, right? And you won't have, I mean, you still be tired, I'm pretty sure, but like,
Yeah,
design those assets, they use 100% of your commitment, right? There's
I'm
not
gonna have
other
a
things
lot
going on.
more, yeah, a lot more focus on it, which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, for
Seems
sure.
like ArcAxer 2 might have a release date around the time of potential Quest 3.
It could be.
Possibly. It's from what I've seen from the rumors, it looks like this Quest 3 might be coming up here pretty fast. So
I know.
That's fair. That's fair.
maybe closer to the Quest 4.
Yeah, I guess you've only got to Quest Store right now, so
Yeah.
maybe
True.
pre-production and such. Yeah, Aaron, with like not ArcAxer, but like just in general and playing VR, anything that you've been playing? You've been jumped into Bone Lab as well or anything like that?
Anthony was talking about it. I have a very academic understanding of VR games right now. I
Mhm.
watch a lot of YouTubers and read a lot of articles, especially in things that have like VR RPG tags. I
Yeah.
obsessively comb our hashtags for competition. People
Mhm.
to people to blackmail, whatever. And so yeah, I'm broadly aware of everything that's out, but I honestly, when I go down to play video games, I just like to sit still and not think. So it's mostly flat screen.
Yeah, I
Nice.
can see that, to be honest.
What genre?
Right now, I've been playing RuneScape, which is not
Oh,
my proudest moment, but
surprising.
I'm enjoying it. I play a lot of co-op games just so I can hang out with my
Mhm.
friends. We play like PUBG or Left 4 Dead.
Nice.
Oh, we played Mario Party recently. That was a good time. Well, it's hanging out stuff.
That makes sense. Anthony, I see. Is that a B haptics vest on your chair as
Oh yeah,
well?
it is. Which ArcAxer also has support for. So
Nice,
if
nice.
you do have a B haptics vest, you can go and get hit in your chest.
Nice. Samson, have you tried that or not? Because I know you have a vest.
Yeah, no, I haven't tried it with it, no.
Okay. I'm curious to see how that's probably pretty fun. It's just like that added extra.
Yeah, the Behaptics guys actually made a bunch of haptic patterns for us
Yeah.
for the game. So there's cool
Nice.
stuff like if you drink a potion, you'll like feel it like go down your like stomach on the
Oh,
on the
cool.
vest.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like if,
Alex from B Haptics, he's
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
enthusiastic about that stuff.
There's
That's
if you go off a bounce pad, you'll like feel like it'll feel like you're boinging up into the air. There's lots of fun stuff like that. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
that's pretty nice. Aaron, obviously you have a bunch of VR headsets behind you. What's your favorite? What do you like to play through? Is it the Quest or is it other like a PC VR headset?
That was Anthony.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I'd say my favorite headset. Well, I don't like to play favorites because we work with a lot of
Yeah.
headset developers.
Yeah.
But I will say I play with the Quest 2 a lot.
Mhm.
And I say I do more standalone than PC just because I like the wireless
Untethered.
kind of untethered I like to move like down to the living room to play and not have to be so close to my PC and everything. But I do a lot of PC VR as well. One of the games I used to play a lot was just Phasmophobia with my friends.
Yeah.
That was mostly because a lot of my friends don't have VR headsets, so
I don't
it's
know how
something
he does that.
I could do in VR that
They
and still
can
play with
flat.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have crapped my pants playing that game.
Yeah,
in VR.
I'm too scared to play it.
yeah, it's pretty spooky, but I kind of like getting really scared and having them hear me scream over Discord or whatever.
He screams great. It's fantastic every time.
Oh,
And
man,
that works with the vest too, right?
I haven't tried it with the vest
Oh
yet. Actually.
God, no! Why would you do that?
You just feel like some chills on your back as you're walking. That's
Yeah, I don't
can
want to hear. I don't want to feel like something tap me on the back while I'm.
Yeah, they do that, and then tap you on the back. Yeah. Oh no,
That's terrible.
you realize your
here.
B haptics is not on, and it's actually
Oh, no.
now
You're
we're working
like-
on a script. Okay,
That's a good creepy pasta.
that's our
right there.
first scene.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Add a horror theme into ArcAxer 2 with some of those B haptic supports, you know.
There you go.
No, for
Oof.
sure. But no, I understand what you mean by the untetheredness. I think something for ArcAxer, right? Especially if we have a larger play space and
Yeah.
the way you're dodging attacks, that even just having the one cable kind of can be annoying, depending on if you have a
really
pulley
like
system.
having
But that's
a full 360 to spin around on. It's really helpful when you're trying to not die.
Yeah, for sure. Did you with ArcAxer, obviously you got it on both PC and on Quest. Was there a lot of challenges like trying to get it onto Quest because you had the PC version, or is it not as bad as what people may think?
Well, I actually built it for the Quest from the start.
Okay, perfect.
So we actually got a Quest 1 dev kit
Mhm.
super early on, and I had the feeling that this standalone new mobile VR thing was probably going to be the new thing. So I just
Mhm.
decided I'm going to build for this, and then of course taking a mobile game and then turning it into a PC game is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Than the
so,
inverse.
Yeah.
Well, did we have the Quest 1 headset when we started dev?
Yes, that's the main reason I actually started working on this game.
Yeah.
Because I had that dev kit.
And
I
it was
like, I need to get
really
something.
early.
Yeah. I thought I need to get something going on this like now, because this
Yeah.
is definitely going to be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've come a long way, right? From putting Wave Magic out all the way to finally getting ArcAxer on the store, which is fantastic. You must be chuffed, and obviously ArcAxer 2, maybe 2024, end of 2023, we'll see how development going. I'm excited to see what you can come up with having 100% of your effort in, because I feel like you can probably maybe push the game more than you've ever done before because of all that experience and such.
Oh yeah, we have
Definitely,
lots of ideas. I really want to take the hardware and kind of push it to its limits and do
Mhm.
weird things with a lot of like fourth wall breaking stuff and things you might not expect you could do with the headset in this game.
Yeah, interesting. Fantastic. Samson, do you have any other questions for the guests?
No, it sounds like ArcAxer 2 might have some sort of co-op though. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, that is a very big thing we definitely want to have in the next game.
Yeah.
It's
That's
one of our biggest requests, and like I was saying, I like to play games with my friends. It's just the thing people do. I definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
That's what I was about to say. I find in VR in general, just playing with a friend just makes experience like 10 times as fun.
Well, let's think about VR too. It's a very evangelical headset. You get one, and then you make your friends get one, but then you have to have a game to play with them to keep them in there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. No, that'd be fantastic. I mean, we know this. We have like a decent community on our Discord as well, and the amount of times we just head into like walkabout mini golf or something because it's just a easy game that everyone can play, and everyone has good fun. And the fact that because you can see everybody, you can see their movements and everything in VR, right? It's not like Zoom, how we're on at the moment, right? But you can actually, you feel like that sense of presence, right? And to have that in an RPG, you kind of only get that when you're playing like tabletop RPG or something like that, right? That sense of presence, having that. So it's something that if ArcAxer can pull it off for ArcAxer 2, that'd be phenomenal. Yeah.
I've got faith in Anthony.
Thank you. It'd be a problem if you didn't.
You're off the team.
I'm doing it all myself. It's coming out in 40 years. Let's go.
I'm gonna draw the best stick figures.
No, for
No,
sure.
but it's definitely worth a try. And the fact that there's a free demo out there, like there's no sense not giving ArcAxer a download, give it a try, and if you like it, there's more.
That's a good question I was going to ask, actually. Will the demo also be on Oculus Store, or will that remain on App Lab?
The demo is probably going to remain on App Lab at least for a while.
Yeah.
We might see if we can have it moved to the store later, but you'll of course have the demo will be updated to the latest version, so of all the performance updates and quality of life stuff from the store launch version.
Perfect. All right, so awesome. So you got ArcAxer, which is out pretty much tomorrow on time of listening, for 25. Well, we haven't announced the price for the Oculus Store, so let's just not. It'll be 25 though. Would it be
It's
the
24.99? Yeah.
All right, perfect. I didn't want to throw you in the bus going, oh wait, hold on a second. And I'm assuming people who got the App Lab version are just updates, so they have the store version too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're maintaining the same store page. We've got new assets coming. Those are going to look really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It seems like you're going to push that update big time, and obviously you said it's the biggest update ever. So I think current players, and especially people in the Discord, are super passionate, are probably absolutely happy, for having this on the store. So you've got that $25 on the store, and then you've also got the Steam version. Which will the Steam version also get all of those updates, or has it already got some of those updates already?
Yeah, the Steam version will get all the same updates.
All the same updates. Awesome. And then you've got obviously the free version if you want to check out just the demo on App Lab as well. Fantastic. Anything else you guys want to plug, or maybe your Twitter handles or anything like that?
Yeah, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at ArcAxer1.
There it is. Yeah.
Of course, check us out on Discord. Our YouTube is, or we actually have a new YouTube. It's Overrun Games, so you can check us out there. We'll have all new ArcAxer content uploaded to that channel, and I think that's it.
Yeah, definitely check out the Discord. It's always fun to talk to people who play the game, and that community spirit really keeps us going.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put all the links in the description. That just reminded me, actually, I want to ask you, Anthony, in particular. I remember, didn't you start a podcast at some point, or on the YouTube?
Yeah, we have the Overrun Games podcast. It's a very informal, just kind of us goofing around, and
opening weird packs of trading card games.
Yeah, we open trading cards and talk about the dumb stuff we want to add to the game.
Fantastic. That's found on YouTube, right? Yeah. Okay,
looking forward to getting that going again. For the last 6 months, we've had nothing to talk about besides like big updates are coming, and that's really boring to listen to. So.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I think it's time for you to get another tabletop RPG or something, and just play that on the podcast or something.
There we go.
Get like a Critical Role going, something similar.
We'll do Fate, but with punching.
Okay.
Anthony, I'm not sure if he's on board.
I don't know about that.
I wasn't asking, so
we'll talk after the show. But no, it's been excellent to have you guys. I wish you all the best when it comes to the game launching. I'm actually super excited. I remember coming into this podcast wondering if you have it on the store. I was gonna ask, is it frustrating that it's not on the store? But not anymore. It's out on there already. So yeah, best of luck with ArcAxer 2. I'd love to have you back on when that comes out, or closer to the launch and such. But yeah, definitely everyone, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching the video. Check out all the links for them in the description below, and join that Discord for sure. All right, bye all.